Today, we're putting two popular apps for managing your home media server head to head, JellyWatch and NZB360. I'm going to put both apps through the same test, compare their features and usability, and award a point to whichever app I think does each task better. Let's start with setting up Jellyfin. As soon as JellyWatch loads, we're presented with the option to configure Jellyfin. I'll select that, enter my Jellyfin URL and password, and that's it. We're straight into JellyWatch. There's no need to manually configure an additional service or enter an API key, so this is a very quick and simple setup. Now let's see how this works in NZB360. I'll open the menu in the top left and select Add Service. Here we have a list of services that we can add. There isn't a native Jellyfin integration, but we can add Jellyfin as a web interface. I'll select Web Interface, choose an icon, enter a display name, and then enter my Jellyfin host IP address. Once that's done, I'll scroll to the bottom and select Save. Now to access Jellyfin, I need to open the menu and select Jellyfin. This opens the Jellyfin web interface directly inside NZB360. Because this is using the web interface, a lot of your Jellyfin plugins and other web-based functionality will still work. For setup, I'm giving this one to JellyWatch. NZB360 does give you access to Jellyfin, but JellyWatch has native Jellyfin integration and takes just a few seconds to get running. Now let's take a look at the interface. JellyWatch gives us quite a lot of information straight from the dashboard. We can see active sessions, recently added media, Radarr, Sonar, C requests, as well as server monitoring. If we go into Libraries tab, we can natively browse our Jellyfin libraries. We can also view all of our Jellyfin users, and importantly, we can actually manage those users directly from the app. There are also system statistics and a number of other server-related features available throughout the app. Now let's look at NZB360. NZB360 can connect to more than 16 different apps and services. On the main screen, we can see recent items from Radarr, as well as released, upcoming, and popular movies from the movie database. The TV section works in a similar way, showing information about our TV shows. The calendar gives us an overview of upcoming content, while the server section gives us information about our connected services. So NZB360 is much more focused around bringing all of these different services together into one interface. This is a difficult one because I think both interfaces have their strengths. JellyWatch gives you a lot more information about your Jellyfin server directly on the dashboard, while NZB360 gives you access to a huge number of different services and has a really useful movie and TV focused home screen. So I'm calling this one a tie. Now let's actually use Jellyfin. In JellyWatch, I can play media directly from the recently added section. Alternatively, I can go to the libraries and browse my Jellyfin library natively within the app. To keep this comparison fair, let's open the same movie in both apps. I'll go into Movies and open Three Ninjas Kick Back. As you can see, I'm getting audio, but no video. If I open the information panel, we can see that Jellyfin says this is direct play rather than transcoding. I'm not sure exactly why this particular movie isn't displaying correctly here, and this is actually the first time I've experienced this issue, so let's try another title. I'll go into my TV shows and open Gilmore Girls, and as you can see, this opens and plays natively within JellyWatch. Now let's try the exact same thing in NZB360. I'll open the menu, select Jellyfin, and we're now using the Jellyfin web interface. From here, I can browse my library and play content just as I would if I were using Jellyfin in a web interface. All of the normal Jellyfin functionality is still available because we're essentially using the web version of Jellyfin. This is another one where both approaches have their advantages. JellyWatch has native Jellyfin integration, which gives you a really clean experience. NZB360 is using the Jellyfin web interface, but that means you're essentially getting the full Jellyfin web experience, including your normal web-based functionality and plugins. Because both approaches work well and have their own advantages, I'm going to call this one a tie. Now let's connect Radarr. I'll select Add your Radarr server, then go into Services and select Add Service. Here I can browse through all the available services. I'll go back to the top and select Radarr. I'll enter my service URL and API key and then click Add. Once we see the green circle next to Radarr, we know the connection was successful. I'll go back to the dashboard and refresh the page. And now our upcoming movies are appearing directly on the dashboard. Now let's do the exact same thing in NZB360. I'll open the menu and select Add Services. Scroll down and find Radarr. I'll select Primary Connection Address, enter my IP address and select OK. Next, I'll paste in my Radarr API key. You can find this under the Radarr setting page. I'll select Test. If this fails, check your IP address and API key. In my case, I actually had a space in the IP address, which caused the connection to fail. Once that's corrected, I'll test it again. And now we're successfully connected. I can go back and Radarr will appear as one of my available services. Both apps make connecting Radarr relatively straightforward. JellyWatch makes it very easy to browse for and add the service, while NZB360 gives you a little more control over the connection setup. I don't think there's a clear winner here, so this is another tie. Now that Radarr is connected, let's see what we can actually do. I'll select Radarr. Here we can see all of our movies, as well as things like wanted, storage, and everything that's currently monitored or missing. We can also search for movies. However, there is an important limitation. The search here is searching through movies that are already on your server, rather than giving you a full the movie database style movie search. Now let's look at Radarr in NZB360. Here we can see recent, upcoming and popular movies from the movie database. Once Radarr is connected, we also get a request button. We can also see recommendations from Radarr. So this gives us more of that discovery experience when we're trying to decide what movie we want to add next. I'm giving this point to NZB360. The ability to browse recent, upcoming and popular movies, along with recommendations and the request button, makes this more useful when you're actually looking for something new to add. Let's see how customizable the dashboards are. I'll select my user icon and go into the menu customization. Here we can see all of our available sections. I can enable or disable sections using the toggle switches, and I can change their order by dragging the handles on the right hand side. I can also customize the bottom navigation and the more screen, so there's quite a lot of flexibility here. Now let's look at NZB360. I'll select the icon in the top right to modify the dashboard. I can move cards up or down or delete them completely. I can also create new tabs or remove existing tabs. This lets you customize NZB360 around the services and information that you actually care about. For dashboard customization, I'm giving the point to NZB360. I really like the ability to create and remove tabs and arrange the cards around exactly what I want to see. JellyWatch has some good customization options as well, but NZB360 gives me more flexibility with how I organize the dashboard. Now let's search for a movie. I'll go into Radarr, select the three dots in the bottom right, and choose Add Movie. I'll search for A Star Is Born. Once I've found it, I can open the movie and configure the Radarr settings. I can change things like the location and what I want to monitor. Once everything is configured, I can select Add Movie, so I can add a movie directly through JellyWatch. Now let's do the same thing through NZB360. I'll select Search and search for A Star Is Born. Because we don't currently have this movie, we get an Add to Radarr button. And there's another really nice feature here. If I scroll down, I can see where the movie is available to watch. So if I don't want to request it through Radarr, I can see whether I can stream or purchase the movie instead. That's a really useful feature when you're just trying to find somewhere to watch a movie. I'm giving this point to NZB360. Both apps let you add a movie to Radarr, but NZB360 gives you a better movie discovery experience. I also really like being able to see where the movie is available to stream or buy. Now let's look at server management. I'll select More and then Server Tasks. There's quite a lot of information available here. Under Systems, I can view my system details. Under Statistics, I can load all of my Jellyfin statistics directly within the app. These can be global statistics or specific to individual users. We can also have an activity log so I can see what's happening on the server. Now let's compare that with NZB360. I'll select Server. Here we can see history, server issues, the R application, and various other information. There are also some details about the services we've connected. However, there isn't really anything here in terms of detailed information about the actual server itself. For server management, I'm giving this point to JellyWatch. It gives you significantly more information about the actual Jellyfin server, including system information, statistics, and activity. Finally, let's look at some of the additional features that don't really fit into the other categories. One feature I really like in JellyWatch is active sessions. For example, I'm going to play Three Ninjas Kickback on an external device. I can immediately see that playback directly inside JellyWatch. If I select the information button, I can see whether the content is being direct played or transcoded. And I also have the remote control over the playback, so I can pause or play the content directly from my phone. Another useful feature is notifications. Once enabled, JellyWatch can notify you when playback starts or stops, when the server goes down, as well as see requests and various other events. NZB360 does have notifications as well. However, at the moment, the notifications I'm getting are primarily around new media being completed. And when it comes to additional features, there's nothing specific that really stands out to me beyond what we've already covered. For additional features, I'm giving the point to JellyWatch. The ability to monitor active playback, see whether something is direct playing or transcoding, remote control playback, and receive more detailed notifications gives JellyWatch some genuinely useful features. So after putting both apps through all of these tests, we have our final score. We have a tie, 6-all. And honestly, I think that's a pretty good result. Both of these apps are really good, but they take slightly different approaches. JellyWatch is much more focused around Jellyfin and managing your actual media server. You've got a native Jellyfin integration, server monitoring, active sessions, playback information, remote controls, and a range of useful notifications. NZB360, on the other hand, is much more focused on bringing a larger number of different services together. It has support for more than 16 services, a great movie discovery experience, use for the movie database integration, and some really good dashboard customization. So, which one is better? Well, after testing both, I don't think there's a single answer. JellyWatch has its strengths, and so does NZB360. If you already use one of these apps and you're happy with it, I don't think you necessarily need to switch. But if you're deciding which one to use, hopefully this comparison has helped you see what each app has to offer. And I'd love to hear what you think. Have you used JellyWatch or NZB360? Which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments below. And if I've missed a feature that you think should have been included in this comparison, let me know about that as well. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more home server, Docker, and media server content. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.